I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so we have on page 717, we are going to be discussing and learning about perimeter today. So an essential question, it says, how can you use a formula to find the perimeter of a rectangle? Okay, so perimeter, as we will find out, is the sides of a shape, okay? Julio is putting a stone border around his rectangular garden. The length of the garden is 7 feet. The width of the garden is 5 feet. How many feet of stone border does Julio need? Okay, so first circle the numbers you would like to use. If you would like to answer this question, go ahead in the chat, comment with an R. What numbers do I need to circle? If you'd like to answer that question, comment with an R in the chat. Area, you commented first. What numbers do I need to circle here?
Number 5 and 7.
5 feet and 7 feet, thank you. I'm circling the label too, so I remember what label I need to put. It says, what are you asked to find? How much feet of stone border? So we would say, how much stone border? We need. How much stone border we need? While you're writing that, I'll give you a minute, okay? Well, less than a minute, but I'll give you some time. Okay. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. To find how many feet of stone border Julio needs, find the perimeter of the garden. So here's a picture of the garden right here. What we need to do to find the distance around the shape, we have to add all the sides together. Now, you should have learned this already in 3rd grade as well. So this should be review, but if you haven't, I'm going to remind you what that looks like, okay? It says to find how many feet of stone border Julio needs, find the perimeter. Use addition. Perimeter of a rectangle equals length plus width plus length plus width. Okay? If I look at a rectangle, I know that whatever number's on one side, the side right across from it is the exact same size. So this 7 foot is talking about this side right here that I'm circling. This one is the exact same as that side. So this side here is also 7 feet. This 5 feet, this is the width. This is this bottom. That's telling me how wide the garden is. Length is telling me how long the garden is. This one is the exact same size as this one that's not labeled. So this is also 5 feet. To find perimeter, I just add all those numbers together. So it's saying 7 plus 5 plus 7 plus 5. Well, I need to first figure out what 7 plus 5 is one time. So, Axel, what's 7 plus 5?
7 plus 5 is 12.
12. So 7 plus 5 is 12. Carter, I need you to add 7 more to 12. Can you do that for me? 7 more to 12.
19.
Yes, 19. And then, Eric, I need you to take 19 plus 5 more.
24.
24. Good job. Thank you, boys. So if I would have added all those, I could have counted on my fingers. I could have done this a lot faster by doing 5 plus 5 is 10. I know that. 7 plus 7 is 14. 10 plus 14 also equals 24, which is the same answer. Okay, so the perimeter is 24 feet. So Julio needs 24 feet of stone border. Okay. Now it's going to show me a new way to do this, okay? A new way to make it simpler for me. It says find perimeter of a rectangle. We're using multiplication this time, okay? So the perimeter, here is my formula. When we are working on showing our work, we're going to have to write whatever formula we use, okay? So this one's saying 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Well, this one up here was length plus width plus length plus width. If I look at this problem here, I have 2 lengths right there and I have 2 widths. That's where this formula comes from. It's instead of having to add 4 numbers, I multiply and then only have to add 2 numbers. So here is my new shape. It's saying my width is 8, my length is 12. Length is always the longer side, width is the shorter side, okay? So it's saying in my formula to do 2 times the length would be 2 times 12. We know that 2 times 12 is 24. Then it's saying 2 times the width. 2 times the width is 2 times 8, because this is the width side of things. 2 times 8, we find out, is 16. Okay? Now, if you would like to answer what 24 plus 16 is, I need you to comment with a Z in the chat, please. A Z. Jaylee Smiley, go ahead.
$40.
Okay, let's check. If I don't know, I can always write it like this. It makes it a lot easier. I'm going to take 4 plus 6 is 10. Write my 0, carry my 1. 2 plus 1 is 4. So our answer would have been 40. So the perimeter of this rectangle is 40 centimeters. Okay? Now, before we move on to this one here, if you have a question, please put a question mark in the chat so we can answer those specific details. Please don't then, if I call on you, tell me I don't get any of it. I need you to be specific. Maybe say, I don't understand the multiplication formula, or I don't understand the addition formula. Try to be as specific as possible so we can really answer those questions that you may have, okay? So if you have a question, start with a question mark in the chat. Now, I have a bunch of friends that are doing a bunch of letters. If I say comment with a letter, you just need to comment one time with one letter, please. Okay? So it looks like, Carter Arp, you have a question. What's your question, buddy? I don't hear anything if you're trying to talk to me right now.
I already got it.
You got it? Okay. I believe Maria had a question. Yes, Maria. What's your question?
What page we are?
717. So towards the back of your book, okay? Aria, what's your question?
How do we know if we are adding or multiplying?
Okay, that is a very good question. How do I know if I'm going to add like this or multiply like this? You can do it either way you would like. Whatever way you find easiest, do it that way. Okay? So if you are a person that you're like, I feel comfortable just adding only, you are going to add when it asks for perimeter. If you are a person that you're like, I want to save my sweet time, I want to get it done fast, and I want to do multiplication, then you are a multiplication person. You get to choose. Okay? I think those were my only questions in the chat, so we're going to move on. Our next one, this one, says find perimeter of a square. Okay, so a square, perimeter equals 4 times one side. Because look, I have 16, 16, 16, 16. I could do this. 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16. But that would take a lot longer than it would for me to take 4 times 16. Because if I take 4 times 16, I'm going to write that over here, out, I can multiply a lot faster, okay? So I'm going to start by 4 times 6, which is 24. I'm going to write down my 4, and I'm going to carry my 2. And then I have 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 more is 6. So I would have found out that this is 64. Let's take a moment and do this. 6 plus 6 is 12. Plus another 6 is 18. Plus another 6 is 24. Write down my 4, carry my 2. And then I add 2 plus 1 is 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can tell, and you know, Mrs. Cox is really good at math. So, because of that, Mrs. Cox can do these in about the same amount of time. You may prefer to add more than you prefer to multiply, but multiplication saves more time instead of having to count on my fingers if I don't know my multiplication facts, okay? So perimeter, if it's a square and all the sides are the same, you can take one side times 4. So the perimeter is 64 inches. Okay? Whenever we do perimeter and area, you have to put a label, okay? You cannot just leave it this number only, because area and perimeter is talking about usually real life things. Like if you're talking about a home and you say, my home has 2,084 square feet. If I just say my house has 2,084, you're going to be like, 2,084 what? If I say square feet, when we do area, you will find out, oh, that's telling you how big your house is. Okay? If you say, I have a garden that's 64. 64 what? 64 inches, feet, centimeters. We always need to have a label, okay? Go ahead and turn the page. Turn the page up here. Now, on this one, it says use a formula. A formula is a mathematical rule. We've learned a couple on the previous page. You can use a formula to find perimeter. So they're giving P, or perimeter, equals 2L plus 2W. 2L is length, 2W is width. So it's saying, in order for me to find a perimeter, I'm taking 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. The reason they put this in parentheses, well, you probably can't see it as well as I thought. I'm sorry. Let me zoom in here. Much better. The reason they're using parentheses is saying that this is a separate math problem and this is a separate math problem, and then we add it. We're not taking 2 times the length plus 2 and then times that by the width. That would make it a jumbled up mess. That's why there's parentheses there, okay? So the example, it says find the perimeter of this rectangle, 18 by 14. So I'm going to fill in my formula. So first we're going to write P equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Now I need to fill in this box, okay? These boxes here. If you would like to answer what goes in this first blank, I need you to comment with a G in the chat. A G. Okay, area answered first. So what would go in this blank? It's supposed to be the length. What's the length of this shape area?
18.
18. Okay. If you would like to comment with the width, I need you to put a B as in boy in the chat. Jaylee Smiley, go ahead. What was
14.
14. Now I have to do math. I have to take 2 times 18. If you would like to answer what 2 times 18 is, put an A in the chat, please. An A. Okay, Axel was first.
36.
36. If I don't know that, I would grab a scrap sheet. Let me grab one already, and we'll do the math on a separate sheet. You don't necessarily need a scrap sheet, but you can follow along with me. So 18 times 2, he said 36. I know 8 times 2 is 16. Carry my 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. So 36 is correct. If you would like to comment on what 2 times 14 is, put a D as in dog in the chat. Eric Gabbard, go ahead. 28, he says. I wrote it out. 4 times 2 is 8. Someone needs to mute their Chromebook, please. Thank you. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2, so 28. Now I need to add those two together. I'm going to write it out first. 36 plus 28. If you would like to answer what 36 plus 28 is, I would like you to put an R in the chat, please. Okay, I'm going to go with Max this time. Go ahead, Max.
I think it's 64.
Okay, let's check. 6 plus 8 is 14. Write down my 4. Carry my 1. 3 plus 2 is 5. Plus 1 more is 64. So that would answer the total perimeter of my chat now, or of my problem. What ending do I need to have or label with my 64 for perimeter? If you would like to answer that, comment in the chat with an S. An S. Okay, Carter Arp, go ahead. What would be my label on this?
Feet.
What is this that I'm pointing at? It's an M, so it's not going to be feet. Do you know what M stands for?
Meters.
Good job. 64 meters. Okay, that's how this would be a complete answer, or you could even spell out meters. Just like that. Okay. Now, we are going to skip this section here. We're going to go to the top of page 719. Before we do that, though, if you have a question, I need you to comment with a question mark in the chat, please. Okay, Aria, you have a question.
I don't get the way with the perimeter and all the lines and times and stuff like that.
Are you talking about the formula or the shape?
Formula.
The formula. Okay, so this, whenever we work with a formula, the best thing to do is just memorize it and follow it literally what it says. So P is the same as perimeter. So when we're writing it out, we write P equals 2 times L. That's 2 times the length. So L equals length plus 2 times W. W equals width. 2 times the width. Okay? So when we wrote that out, P equals 2 times L plus 2 times W. Underneath that, I have to rewrite the formula, but replacing the L with the W with the real numbers that I'm looking for. So when you're doing your work, if you just write this out, you're not doing complete work. You have to write out the formula first, or we may not know what you're doing. Okay? So then you are plugging in those numbers. 18 is longer than 14, so that's my length. That's why it replaced the L. And 14 was my smaller side. That's why it replaced the W in the previous. Then you solve it, each one, and that's where these numbers come from. And then you add it together to find the total. These all equal perimeter. Perimeter equals 64, but then we also have to put our label, okay? Anyone else have a question? If you do, you need to have a question mark in the chat because I'm not looking at hands. I can only see like 6 people. So you have to comment in the chat if you have a question. Maria, what's your question?
I'm confused, like, how you get, like, the 18 in the 14?
Okay, if we look at this shape here, do you see where it shows the rectangle and one side is 18, one side is 14? That's where those numbers come from because we're trying to find how big the edges of this shape is. Okay.
But how do you know where you put it?
In the formula, L is length or the longest side. 18 is the biggest side because 18 is bigger than 14, so 18 is my L. 14 is smaller than 18, so that is my width or my W. Okay. Anyone else have a question? Carter Earp, what's your question, bud?
Do you know? I forgot what I was gonna say. I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, do you know? You're not recording this.
I should be recording it. Yeah, I am.
Oh.
Our math lesson is being recorded. Thank you for double checking. Okay, page 719. We're going to move on to the top of this page here. It's giving me that formula again. This time it's leaving blanks. But look, off to the side here, it tells me what I can do. Okay? So, this one is going to be find the perimeter of this rectangle. I'm going to enter in my formula. Perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Now what I do is I'm going to copy down the 2 for both of those in the first slots. And I need to figure out which one is my length and which one is my width. If you would like to comment which one is the length, please put a P in the chat, please. Maria, go ahead. Which one's my longer side?
The 8.
The 8. So that's going to go right here to replace my L or my length. If you would like to comment what the width is, I need you to put a Q in the chat, please. Jonathan, what is my width?
4.
Good job. Now, all I have to do is solve these two and put them in these blanks. So 2 times 8. If you would like to answer what 2 times 8 is, what I'd like you to do is put a 7 in the chat. Eric, go ahead.
2 times 8?
Yes.
16.
Thank you. If you would like to answer 2 times 4, go ahead and put an F in the chat. Axel, go ahead.
8.
8. And then if you would like to add those two together, put a U in the chat. Okay. I'm looking for maybe someone that hasn't gotten to answer a lot yet. We're going to go with Max. 16 plus 8, Max.
24.
24. Double check real quick. 6 plus 8 is 14. Carry my 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. 24. Now, what should be my label? If you would like to comment, I need you to put the number 9 in the chat. Carter Arp, what's my label?
Feet.
Yes, feet. FT stands for feet. The perimeter is 24 feet. Good job. Thank you. Now, you have learned this one, and you've learned that you can add all the sides together. What I want you to do, I want you to try number 2 by yourself. I'll give you a minute or two, and then I'm going to go over it with you, okay? So you're just doing number 2 by yourself right now, okay? Make sure your Chromebook is muted and that you are ready to work. I'm going to write out my formula on my scrap sheet. So if you need to grab a scrap sheet real quick, do that as well.
Miss Cox. What if we don't have like a craft shit to write?
You don't have a scrap sheet? Then you may have to write really small underneath here, okay? Or to the side.
Miss Cox, is it 40? I got 40.
I'm not checking with you right now. I haven't done any math yet. Okay?
Okay.
But I can tell you you might be right. Okay, someone needs to mute their microphone. Eric, you need to mute your microphone. Thank you.
Wait, were you talking to me?
Yeah, your microphone was unmuted there for a second.
Oh, I didn't know.
What was that? I just saw it a second ago. Other friends had it unmuted too. And so I think they muted before I saw who it was. Okay, we're going to go over this now. I'm going to write out the rest of my formula. I'm doing it this way. You could have done it like this. 16 plus 16 plus 4 plus 4. And you would have also gotten your answer. I'm going to do it this way just because I like this way. So my length is 16. So this would end up being 2 times 16 plus my width is 4. 2 times 4. So then I would do my math. I know 2 times 16 is 32. So 32 plus 2 times 4 is 8. 32 plus 8 does equal 40. I would add my label, which is yard, YD, and then I would also write it right here, 40 yards. If you got that correct, I would like for you to put an exclamation point in the chat for me. If you got that correct, do an exclamation point. Awesome. I have 2 friends so far, 3 friends. Okay. Now we're going to work on number 3. This time I'm going to do number 3 with you. We are working with bigger numbers. Because we're working with bigger numbers, I may not want to multiply. I may just want to add this all together. So this time I'm going to add up all my sides, okay? So I'm going to write that out. I have 110, so I'm going to write 110. And I'm spacing out my numbers a little bit to make sure I line them up right. And then 42, I got 2 sides of 42. And I'm going to add those together, okay? So now I got 0 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 is 4. I have 4 plus 4 is 8 plus 1 more is 9 plus 1 more is 10. So I'm going to drop a 0, carry a 1. And then I have 3 ones, so that's 304. My label's M, which is meters. So my answer would be 304 meters. Okay? You try number 4 by yourself. Now, this is a square. If I look up here for squares, I can do 4 times one side. So that would be 4 times 4. So this shouldn't take you very long. You can write down 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. Or if you know what 4 times 4 is, you could do it that way. Okay, I'm going to give you about 20 seconds, and then I'm going to ask for an answer. If you are ready to comment with the answer, put a C in the chat for me, please. A C. The deer. What is 4 times 4, bud?
8.
That's 4 plus 4.
16.
16 meters. Now, I could not just write this answer down. I have to write the formula. Perimeter equals 4 times S. Then I have to plug in 4 times 4 to get 16 like this. When we're showing our work, this is what our work looks like. I don't want to just see an answer and no work done, okay? So this is important because as you get older in middle school and high school, you will not get an A on your test if you do not show your work. You may have all the right answers and they may say, you cheated, you didn't show any of your work, you just used a calculator when you weren't supposed to. So I'm trying to get you to understand when we deal with perimeter and area, we always write out a formula and you have to write it all the way out like this, even if you know the answer on the top of your head, okay? Now, I would like for you to do 5 through 7. You go ahead and do 5 through 7. I'll give you a couple minutes and then we'll go over them together, okay? 5 through 7.
Miss Cox.
What, buddy?
Do we like make up our own on 6 because there's no numbers?
There's 116 feet. And this is a square. So what formula would I use? 4 times S. So 4 times 116. Okay, I'm going to start by going over number 5. So let's find the perimeter of the rectangle or square. This one, I'm going to do my formula that looks like this one. P equals, parentheses, 2 times length plus 2 times the width. So I'm going to plug in 2 times 34 is my longer number, so 2 times 34 plus 2 times 20. And I'm going to multiply. Now, I may not know the answer to this off the top of my head. That's why I have scrap paper. I can write it off to the side like this. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 3 is 6. So I know that 2 times 34 equals 68. Now I'm going to plus. 2 times 20 I know is 40. Then I'm going to add those two together. I'm going to write it off to the side so I can figure that out. 8 plus 0 is 8. 6 plus 4 is 10. So 108 would be my answer to this. And my label is IN, which is inches. So for number 5, my answer would be 108 inches. If you got that correct, I would like for you to comment with a $sign in the chat. A $sign.
I just joined.
Okay, hold on. I have a lot of people that are unmuted right now, and they have not put a question mark in the chat. So I don't know that they're trying to talk to me. I think they're trying to disrupt my math lesson. So if you have a comment, please comment with a question mark in the chat, and make sure you are muted on your Chromebook, please. Carter, you know how this goes. If you're going to act that way, you can be removed from our meeting. Okay. Now, Maria, what is your question?
I was writing my math, and then I couldn't see the screen.
Okay. Here is the screen. Now, Yazari, you were trying to tell me something. If you just joined the meeting, it looks like you'll have to go back and watch the math video when it's ready because you missed quite a bit, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now, Carter Arp, if you have a question or comment, can you put a question mark in the chat, please? And participate how we normally do, not just unmute and start talking.
I just put one in there.
I really don't need you to be rude with me. If you continue this, I'm going to remove you from the meeting. You'll watch the video, and then I'll talk to you later on its learning. You know you don't act that way with Mrs. Cox.
I did nothing. It just pinned. It won't let me unpin it.
I don't even know what you're talking about, buddy.
It's pinned.
What is pinned?
Like it pinned you somehow.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be pinned.
No, like I can't see your math book.
Yeah, because I'm not currently showing my math book. I'm on the Google Meet, so anytime I click on the Google Meet, it's showing you a black screen because it's not presenting my math book. If I click off the Google Meet and go back to my camera, it will show my math book. Okay? Now, is that what you have a question about, or do you have another question? Because I didn't like the attitude you gave me.
No other question.
No other question? Okay, then go ahead and mute for me. Thank you. Anyone else have a question for me? Yazari, did I answer your question? Because I noticed you put a question mark in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then we're going to move on back to our math book. You should now be able to see my math book since I actually clicked on my math book link.
I still can't see it.
Then maybe you need to get off and get back on.
Oh my.
Okay, number 6. We have 116 feet on, this is a square, so I could add 116 4 times, but I'm actually going to use my square formula, which is P equals 4 times side. That would be 4 times 116. Now, I don't know that off the top of my head, so I'm going to write it in a way that I can do my math very easy right here, and I'm going to multiply. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry my 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 more is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. So 464 with my label feet would be my answer. So I need to write that also on my scrap paper, 464 feet. Okay? Now, this one, I'm going to do a different formula. I'm just going to add these a bunch of times because I know sometimes some friends like to add instead. So I'm going to do the long way this route just so people can see that you can do it that way. This one, I'm going to do perimeter equals length plus width plus length plus width. You still have to write out your formula when you add. Now I'm going to write out perimeter equals 42 plus 21 plus 42 plus 21. And then to really do my work, which I know a lot of you probably just wrote this down without writing the formula. This is actually the formula for that problem to do it this way, okay? So I'm going to add. I have 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 2 more is 5, plus 1 more is 6. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 4 more is 10, plus 2 more is 12. So I should have gotten 126, and it's meters, so 126 meters. Perimeter equals 126 meters. Okay, so I'm going to write that also right there in my math book. Okay? If you have a question, would you please be so kind to comment this time with a G in the chat? A G in the chat. Carter Arp, you have a question?
Yeah, I got a question, but I just don't get how to do the formula part. I don't understand that.
The formula part is telling me how I did my math, okay? So the one we've practiced the most is probably the one where we write it out like this, where it's 2 times L plus 2 times W. I have to write out the way I'm figuring out my perimeter, or I'm not doing my math right. So it's just something you have to memorize in order to do it, okay? And right here are different formulas for perimeter. It tells you right here the ones you can do. So I would probably put a sticky note or a star or fold this page 719 so I can see and come back to this here to help me pick out what formula I want to use. Over time, you'll memorize it, but today's your first day, so you may have to flip back and double check it a couple times, okay? Now, Carter T., you had a question.
Are we almost done with the math?
You'll find out here in a moment. Yazari, do you have a question?
Is it okay if I use the bathroom?
Not in the middle of our math lesson. You're going to have to wait. Axel, do you have a question?
I don't get how to multiply.
How to multiply? Which part? A square or a rectangle?
Square.
A square. When it's a square, perimeter is 4 times the side. Because here's the thing with a square, every side is 1/16. Okay? I don't need to add 1/16 4 times. Since they're all the same side, I just have to take one of them and multiply them by 4, and it would be the exact same as adding this 4 times. Because I'll show you. If I write out 1/16 4 times and add it, I got 6 plus 6 is 12, plus another 6 is 18, plus another 6 is 24. Carry my 2, I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was much faster for me to write out let me find it, 1/16 times 4 and multiply. Okay? Okay, now we are going to get started on page 721. I'm going to assign our homework. On page 721, no number 6. Okay? Today, I'm not going to read the word problems to you. I want you to read and try to figure out what you're doing. Now, these will have to do with perimeter, but if you notice in this word problem, it only mentions one number, but there's keywords that's going to tell me what I need to do to figure out my problem.
9 or 6 if I want.
Now, on the back page, 722, you are hold on, let me pull it up. No one needs to be talking. Okay. Who is this? Miss Almond, can you keep an eye out for who is the one being ornery on my Google Meet and let me know? Thank you. On the back page, 722, no number 3, no number 4, and no number 5. Who was that, Miss Almond? Okay. Because I'm pretty sure I know exactly who it is. And if need be, I'm going to call home. So my friend that keeps deciding to disrupt our math lesson, you may be getting a phone call home if you continue to do so. So on page 722, no number 3, 4, and 5. So you're doing number 1 and 2, and then number 6. Okay? Now, good news as well. I'm going to go to It's Learning. Math. Go Math. I have access to all 4th graders again. So today you have math workbook. You have Mega Math assigned to you. Now, I accidentally assigned 13.2 things. Those are for tomorrow. Don't worry about those today, okay? go to the one, it's going to say 1130 Omega Math 13.1 and 1130 Animated Math Models 13.1. You're going to do both of those, and you have a math review. Okay? Now you have an hour before specials start. That's plenty of time to get your work done. Okay? So you may go ahead and get started. I'm going to pause my recording.